Ahoy, if I'm saying that correctly. Let's have a look at my Czech gas mask collection, or Czechoslovakian gas mask collection. Now, unfortunately, I've only got 4 masks for this video, and they're all from the period of Communist Czechoslovakia, because I know prior to World War II there was actually quite a lot of interesting Czechoslovakian designs, but sadly I don't have any. And I don't have anything from the modern Czech Republic, or Czechia, or however you call it, or modern Slovakia. So everything in this video, unfortunately, is from the communist period, but I do have 4 masks, and I know a lot of people like these national videos on gas masks. So let's have a look at the first one. This is in the kind of tarp bag. It's the M10. Now, a lot of you know I'm not a massive fan of this mask, but let's get the worst one over with. Now, design-wise, this isn't an awful mask, but it's a Czech M17 clone, basically. And what I will say is the straps are very nice and the rubber's a very nice material. The issue I have with it is, firstly, because it's an M17 type clone, I have the issue of the buttons inside keep opening up, and the sort of oral nasal cup is a bit skewiff, and the filters in this are long since expired. So other than particulate protection, this mask really offers no protection whatsoever. And as a lot of you know, I'm not a fan of cheek filter masks, but anyway, I'll briefly put it on just for the sake of the video. Now, that's fairly uncomfortable because the oral nasal cup is obviously not in the right place. But yeah, the rubber, other than the oral nasal cup cutting my face, is nice and good. And that's one of the qualities you'll see on a lot of these Czech masks as I go through the video, is all of them tend to have fairly good rubber on them. So let's get this one off, because as I said, this is my least favourite, and I'm not going to spend ages talking about it. A slight bit of discoloration to the rubber there. But the Czech masks are interesting because most of them are made kind of this slightly green rubber, but the rubber's always a really good quality on these masks. It sounds a bit weird every time I say it, but when you have gas mask rubber, it has to be just right. It's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears with the porridge either too hot or too cold. With respirators, the rubber can't be too soft and it can't be too hard. Too hard and it's uncomfortable, and it won't make a good seal because obviously rubber's too rigid to fit the contours of a face properly. And if you've got rubber that's too soft, the mask tends to kind of just bend too much with the weight of filters on it, and it also has lots of problems, you know, where it's just too squidgy and won't hold its shape. So you have to have rubber that's comfortable but rigid enough that it keeps its shape. The Czech masks do this very well, and the rubber is just really nice. Has an interesting smell to it that's not horrible. But yeah, so this was basically, for some reason, Czechoslovakia decided they wanted to clone M17s. And this is the mask they came up with. Again, it's not bad as masks go, it's well made, it's just they chose a poor design, in my opinion, to actually do a copy of. So that's the first one. Then they have the even better one. And this is in my favourite gas mask bag of all time. It's a really, really nice bag. It's basically the same kind of layout as the other bag, but this one's made from some sort of fabric covered in fake leather, or vinyl type stuff. It's really nice. People have told me though it doesn't actually really, this isn't an exclusive bag for the M10M. Apparently you could get regular M10s in this bag, or you could get M10Ms in the other bag, or a canvas bag or whatever else. So if you get this bag you're lucky, if you get the other bags I guess you're not so lucky. But anyway, let's look at this mask, which is interesting. Now this was one of the earliest gas masks I bought, probably in like my first 5 respirators or something. I'm on 70 odd now. This is the Czech M10M. I've also heard these called the OM10, like OM10, but I don't know which is correct. But so the M10 is basically what they've done. The M10M is, it's the M10 but a different voice diaphragms on it. It's got the exhale valve in the same place. I mean, it says M10M on there, so that's why I'm going to call it the M10M. And it's got the American style drinking tube that's wrapped all the way around in here. And that's hidden under the rubber, so that's how it's stored, and then when you unfold it, obviously it comes out. Now, this drinking tube system, I'm not a huge fan of it. I've said about this before. That's not the fault of the mask. The problem is they've copied the American style drinking system, which isn't all that good from the period. And from what I understand, America has improved the design since. When I did my video ranting about it, I was using it for like the cheapest possible Soviet bottle, so I guess I am lowering the quality I'm going to get out of it. But I've seen a few other respirator drinking tube systems that, you know, lock into place much better and everything else. But yeah, it's got a drinking tube on it. If you're a huge fan of drinking tubes, then knock yourself out. The rubber's not really discoloured on this one.
This is a size 2, the other one was a size 3, so I guess this is slightly smaller, but I do actually like this mask despite all the bad things I say about it. As I said, as much as I don't like M17 design cheek filter masks, the mask itself at least is of very good quality. So all the rubber, all the straps, all things like that. So what I'm going to just do is put the mask on and pull the straps tight, and then you can see this. I think the harness is slightly improved on this as well, it's a bit more fabricy.
Okay, so mask's on, we'll just tighten the straps slightly. Yep, so you get an airtight seal. The mask is very comfortable on the face despite a bit heavy being an M17 clone. But yeah, overall this mask is a good design. As said, the rubber's very comfortable on the skin and the straps are good, which is one of the big factors that comes into play with a respirator. I'd say on importance factor, and I'll cover this in a separate video, the most important thing with a respirator is will it keep you alive? That's obviously the most important thing. And then you have secondary and tertiary concerns like comfort, does it have a drinking system, how good is your field of view and everything else. But obviously, the most important thing of a respirator is its ability to keep the wearer alive. If a respirator can't do that, then it's a bad respirator. Now I was just trying to see where the straps were to adjust the top, because I think I need to actually adjust it up a bit like that.
But as I said, I never actually used this mask for anything serious. Now, when I did initially test this, the filters was in like their foil bag when I cut them up, and after cut them open and put them in after much anger at trying to put cheek filters in a mask, because it's a really unpleasant experience putting cheek filters in a mask and buttoning them up. The mask did work briefly against air freshener, so yeah, if you had a cheek filter mask at the time and you had new filters, they were perfectly functional for use. The issue is obviously changing the filters on them is a nightmare. Now, most of the Czech army or Czechoslovakian army use these masks. Now, yeah, they're not a brilliant design. What's really interesting as well is I have the hose in here, and you're meant to have 2 of these. And what they did is each end of it, you would have one connected to each of the filter intakes. They'd sort of stretch over there. And what you'd do is once they were on there, you would have this screwed into, I guess, a supplied oxygen unit or like a rebreather bag, and the idea is that you inhale through those and then you just exhale normally. And apparently that was just for tank crews or something. If they were briefly wearing a mask and they had to go underwater, they could put their oxygen system on, go underwater. Obviously it's basically rigging up a mask that doesn't have a system like that to use a system like that, so it's a bit of a silly design. But I imagine a tube like this could be repurposed for a lot of things. So anyway, now let's look at the Czech civil defence masks, which in my opinion are actually better than the military ones. Oh, before I move on, Czech M10M's bottle cap for the drinking system is quite interesting. Basically, you take this cover off and you've got your standard American kind of drinking tube system in there. But what's really interesting is there's no screw on this. The Czech canteens, I don't have one sadly, and I couldn't see any for sale on eBay, actually kind of used a cork kind of system to seal them. So what this is, it's like a rubber stopper. And as you can see, it gets wider as it goes up, so you'd shove it into the bottle until it holds, and then you've got your drinking tube system. I'm assuming on the proper Czech canteens, that lip would kind of go over one bit of the bottle and the rest would stay in like that. Interesting system. I imagine actually a rubber stopper like this one is kind of superior to a screw in many ways, because you don't need as many O-rings and stuff like that actually on it to get it to work. But as I said, it's a kind of weird system, but there we go, that's how the Czech one worked. Apparently the actual rubber thing in there for the drinking tube to sit into is a very, very good connection. But as I don't have the canteen to test it with, I can't test how well all the bits hold together. But that's the weird drinking tube system, or drinking cap system, the Czech canteens used. And here's the civilian mask. So let's start with the CM3, which is actually a really good mask despite its simple design. Mine came in this bag. From my understanding, these can come in several different bags again, because I've had a few people go, "No, this is not Czech mask, it has the wrong bag." Well, no, because lots of respirators come in whatever bag. I generally get that comment made on every single respirator I own, because respirators are often, you know, the bags weren't made in the gas mask factories and they made loads and loads of different bags. Lots of people seem to think there's only one ever kind of bag you can get a mask in. I've also got masks where they didn't come with a bag, I've just put them in a random cheap surplus bag, and then people are also saying that my mask must be a fake because it's in the wrong bag. So no, this one came in this bag. I have no idea if it's a Czech bag or not, I imagine it is. But regardless, the mask is still the mask regardless of what bag it's in. So, let's have a look at what you get in here. You have the mask and a filter. There's also some bandages at the bottom. Now, here's the Czech filter. Now, interesting enough, somebody had one of these on a Draeger M65 the other day, and they said, this is a NATO filter. I said, no, it's not. It's a Warsaw Pact Czech filter. And they said, no, it's a NATO filter. I know for sure. No, these are Czech filters. Actually, out of interest for anybody who's Czech, can you tell me what the trident symbol means on these? Because I was trying to look this up and I couldn't find any information. I don't know if it was just some sort of logo they like to put on some of the military gear. But let's stop talking about the filter. Let's talk about the mask. This is the Czech CM3. It's made out of that same really nice rubber as the other masks, and it has this lovely brown bakelite exhale valve system and intake system. Other than that, it's very simple. It has the same strap system as the other masks. It actually has the exact same one as the regular M10 because it's kind of got that material there on the strap system. So basically, the mask looks like that. You undo all the straps, you put your chin in first, pull the strap over,
and then you tighten the straps. And yeah, you get an airtight seal. So, yeah, this is a fairly good civil defence respirator. From what I've been told, the CM3 literally means it's civil defence free. Now you might notice it doesn't have an oral nasal cup inside, that's why the things are fogging up, because I've not put any anti-dim on the inside. But the actual mask itself is a really good design for a cheap civil defence mask. The rubber, as I said, is very comfortable in the Czech masks, the straps work properly, and all in all it's a very good design.
other than the fact there's no oral nasal cup. It even, to make it even better, like most of the Czech masks, has one of these neck carry straps, so you can have the mask on the strap like that, then obviously lift it up and put it on. And yes, for those of you who are still wondering, I do have a Christmas jumper on that I'm just waiting until I get dirty to put in the wash. It's my die-hard Christmas jumper. But yeah, overall, very, very good mask for what it is. Obviously designed to be a cheap civil defence mask, but funnily enough, if somebody said, you're in the army, would you rather have an M10 with cheek filters or would you rather have a 40mm mask? I'd say 40mm mask, please, because I can at least change the filters easily in the field. So that's the CM3. As I said, it's mostly, as far as I'm aware, just used for civil defence, but the mask itself is actually very good. But now let's look at an even better civil defence mask, well, sort of. It's the Czech CM4, which is basically a Czech copy, or inspired by a Draeger M65. Now, this is a good mask, except for the fact it doesn't have a very good peripheral seal, and the problem with M65 style masks is if you don't put a good peripheral seal on the mask mask isn't going to make a good airtight fit for most of the people wearing the mask because of how the mask works. So that's what the inside looks like. So you say there's a bit of a peripheral seal here, but not a brilliant one. If you want to see a good peripheral seal, look at the Finnish M61, because it kind of has the bit of rubber that sticks kind of right out at an angle, but that makes a very good lock against the face. 5-point head harness. Unlike the actual M65, this has rubber, it has elasticated straps, where the M65 has rubber straps. So the straps are much better to tighten on this. The only issue I've had is I find if you do it too tight to try and make a face seal, you'll suddenly find you can't take the mask off. Now, I actually took this entire assembly apart in another video, which is why that might not look like it's quite on straight. But it all works well enough, and as you can see, it says CM4 there. The thing I really like with the Czech masks is, other than the CM3, they all actually put the name of the mask on one of the valves, so you can actually just look at the mask and know what the name is. So it's got an oral nasal cup inside, it's got good eye lenses. From what I understand, it's the same voice diaphragm as the M10s, they just like basically built that onto another mask. It's the same kind of lenses as an M10. I don't know if the M10 outserts fit, I'll have to try that at some point if I can be bothered. But yeah, so it's a good mask, other than the fact it doesn't have a very good peripheral seal, which might mean it's a bad mask because it doesn't make an airtight seal when the user dies. So you have to hope with this that it fits your face well enough, but let's put it on anyway. Right, now let's tighten the straps accordingly and try and get the harness all straight before I do that. Alright, so that's it, mask on. you won't be able to hear that on the camera, but when I pressurise it I can hear a bit of air seeping in, and again that's because the peripheral seal isn't brilliant on an M65 style mask. But other than that, it's very comfortable. How your chin sits in the chin rest, you've got a bit of room to move your chin, which I don't know if that's why the seal isn't brilliant, but at least it's more comfortable to talk. And some of the masks have a really good chin rest. When the mask's too tight, your jaw starts aching really quickly from trying to talk with your jaw pressed right up against something. But yeah, good field of view. I don't know if this is the perfect size for me, to be honest, but yeah, overall very good, other than the fact, as I said, it could have done with a better peripheral seal, but so many of the M65 style masks don't have that. It's not really a surprise the Czech sort of copy didn't. Out of all the M65 masks, just for those interested, the Israeli M15 out of all the ones I've used is easily the best in terms of making a good face seal and you know, parts and accessories for it. But again, this is made from the nice Czech rubber that's very comfortable to the face, and it's, you know, rigid and flimsy at the same time, which is what you want. Firm but fair, I guess you'd say. So yeah, the mask does seem to seal well enough, but yeah, not perfect if you had to use it in some sort of scenario and you didn't have the exact right size for your face. But as I said, that's an M65 problem, not this Czech copy of the M65. So let's hope this time I can undo the straps. Oh dear, I can't undo the strap. Right, luckily I didn't do it too tight, but as I said, the flaw in this mask for some reason seems to be, and I don't know if it's just because mine's old and the straps have gone a bit funny, that the strap release doesn't seem to always work properly once you've tightened it, and then you're stuck with a mask on your face. But yeah, overall, fairly good mask. It's a copy of an M65, yes, but it's a well-made copy. It's actually better than the German M65. The issue being they just didn't improve the face seal, which is the weakest part of the M65, and thus now the weakest part of this mask. Actually has a voice diaphragm, unlike an M65 as well. So that's my Czech respirator collection. I hope you liked it. As I said, all of them are from Communist Czechoslovakia. Sadly, I don't have any older or newer ones. But there you go. That's the masks. Overall, the Czechoslovakian masks I actually have are very, very good quality in terms of like the rubber and straps for the most part. There is also, I think it's called the CM5, which is one of these which has a panoramic lens on it rather than the rest of it, but I've not seen one of those for sale at a sensible price when I've had the money laying around to buy a mask. And as I've said to quite a few people, I need to actually really clear some more space out before I keep buying more and more masks. I've already got a few more masks on order, and I don't really have anywhere to put them, so at the moment I'm trying to have to chuck stuff out that's obviously not mask related to clear space for more masks to go, which is a bit of a pain. There you go, there's my Czech respirator collection. I hope you enjoyed the video, and yeah, see you next time.